I'm Anushka Shankar. I'm a sitar player, composer, music producer, mom, global citizen, and more. From the time I was born, I was traveling across multiple continents, both with my family and eventually on tour with my music. So from a very early age, I had to define what it meant for myself to be rooted and what it meant to come from a place. And so right from as early as I can remember, I knew what it meant to carry who I am and where I come from within myself, regardless of where I happen to be or who I happen to be with. For me, tradition becomes significant when it feels relevant and when it feels personal and truthful to who I or us as a people are today. The incredible thing about our classical music is it's simultaneously ancient and also improvised. So there's a duality within it of being something that's connected back down through ancestors generations long, and also being very current, very in the moment, coming from that individual. So for me, tradition is something that has a lineage that is evolving with each person that passes it down. I think how we get to define what it means to be Indian or to be global is something very, very personal. For me, it means that I've had the opportunity to feel comfortable in who I am around the world. It means that I get to represent my culture, my country, to people who may be less familiar with it, but I also get to come back to my country and still feel like I belong, which is something, you know, I don't take for granted and I really feel grateful for. I think with her story, I was very attracted to what a strong woman-led company it was. I really felt that sense that it's got a real personal touch from the people who really love what they do and are really invested in what they're making, and I connect to that passion and that love for what they do. I guess something that I really love and look for, which is just a way of being, you know, inventive and original, but not just for the sake of it. It has an authenticity to it that I really connect to. As my children grow up, the things we're talking about my roots, about where they come from, I think the thing we keep coming back to more and more are the personal stories. They're the things that I've been told about my great-grandmother from my mother, that if I don't tell someone else, that story will disappear. Or the little tiny stories about my father. You know, maybe his big biography is known by a lot of people, but what are those little nuances of what it was like to be him in his family, or what was his parent like? Those things, I just love telling those stories, because when we carry that within us, it's something really special that we get to have. You know, the world every year, every moment is becoming more and more international. And in my own lifetime, you know, there's been so many changes in how different cultures interact with each other. When I was younger, things felt a lot more disjointed and separated. And so for people of maybe that age group, it would feel very confusing to be partially Indian, partially American, partially British. And I feel like increasingly, you know, the more that's been what's happening, that is not a disjointedness anymore. It's a richness, you know, it's a richness of experience. And for me as an artist, you know, when I make work, it has to represent who I am. It has to tell my story and my perspective. And so I think that's what's been happening since I started writing music, is how do I make music that represents my experience as someone that has that Indian root but has lived, you know, a global life, and how does that music carry a respect for that tradition while also moving forward in a way that feels like it represents my world.